I'm making up for lost ground since I missed my chance to in the fall. To put it bluntly, I wanted to, but life said no. My name's Yonggi. I'm Baka. Now let me tell you about how thick, that's two C's, Thursdays were. But before we begin, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of this. Thursday was the first day of the week that had me excited for anime. That is if you begin your weeks on Monday like many businesses and schools do. There were a couple reasons as to why that was, but first let's begin with the hot take. Platinum End sucks. To make matters worse, it didn't even come out on Thursdays, it was released every Friday. I remember someone, can't remember who, on Facebook, or was it IG, can't remember that either, that really praised Platinum End for being a dark and psychological thriller, as it was written by the same author as Death Note, which was huge! When it comes to anime, my tastes are pretty varied and I really do enjoy psychological thrillers, so I jumped on board the Platinum End hype train. Doot doot. The first episode of Platinum End was really good. Then the train sort of derailed on a mountain, slowly tumbling down and hitting every cliff below. But let's first begin when the crazy train was still on its tracks. Episode 1. A young boy, Mirai, that's a little on the nose, isn't it? Wants to plummet off a skyscraper on the same day as his middle school graduation. And that's pretty heavy, isn't it? He jumps, and as he falls, an angel saves him and encourages him to live on. And at this point, I'm really invested and interested to see where this story is going. The angel then gives him two choices, the first being a pair of angel wings that will enable him to fly at light speed, and the second, a red gem that if shot into somebody else, will make them hopelessly fall in love with him. He chooses and gets both. Okay, red flag number 2. I guess Mirai is just a self-absorbed giant cupid. Anyway, what's next?
じゃあ、両方くれよ。それなら考えてもいい。
じゃあ全部あげる。
It does explore what drove Mirai to make his original choice of becoming a jumper, which didn't have a proper build-up, nor impact that I would have preferred, and it's somewhat brushed over even. Mirai then shoots his aunt with the gem. She hopelessly falls in love with him. He questions her life. She kills herself. Again, little build-up for that payoff. I thought Platinum End would be a psychological thriller, akin to how Death Note made me feel. How would Mirai use or exploit his newfound powers? The hours and hours of debate and analysis that would spark. Most importantly, would Mirai take a chip and eat it too?
ポテチを取り、食べる。
Of course, Platinum End's different. It has to be. But it's different for all of the wrong reasons. It's revealed that other giant cupids exist and Platinum End becomes a battle royale anime. A weak backstory is introduced for Mirai, and then that supersedes what drove him to off himself in the first place. Other characters are introduced, but they all have weak convictions and are pretty flip-floppy. Power Ranger suits are introduced, and one that's even styled as a cat suit. And the biggest offender of them all, this guy. The hype train that was Platinum and probably my most anticipated anime for the season just never made it to the station. But enough about that, onto a more visually stunning and interesting anime, one that wasn't even on my radar, Sakuragan. Seeing Made in Abyss, Sakuragan gave me Made in Abyss vibes, from a story of exploration, danger, and mystery standpoint. Sakuragan takes place far below the Earth's surface in an expansive space called the Labyrinth, where people live in colonies. A pair of explorers, a single father and his daughter, Gagumber and Memempu, embark on a dangerous journey in the labyrinth, where giant mech monsters stalk about, all to reach the surface to find the place that haunts Memempu's dreams. While being father and daughter, the two couldn't be any more dissimilar, one living beyond his former glory days as a drunkard, and the other being far beyond her age and intellect, graduating university at the age of 9. As you can imagine, this often leads to clashes of perspective, one drawn by experience, and the other drawn by intellect. Both shared their triumphs and blunders equally. But regardless of the fact, the two share an inseparable bond, and when they're pressed will do all that they can to protect the other, because they're family. Like I said, their differences in perspective often lead to quite the quandary, both comical and at times quite dire. Whether it be a thirst for unraveling the unknown, or a thirst for alcohol and women. Both characters are compelled by their vices. Gagumber no longer the legendary marker he once was, and often overshadowed by his young daughter, creating a sorry sack of a complacent man. And Memempu, being the accomplished intellect that she is someone who rationalizes inherently risky plans that experience would argue against. Gagumber does, but Memempu says yes, and does anyway. To a fault even, leaving her father chasing after his wild child. All making the last few episodes and the finale that much more rewarding, and bringing the two closer than ever. Navigating through the labyrinth in their ragtag convoy, they find that the space is trifled with danger at every turn, tucked away in the darkness. And that the monsters in the dark aren't the only ones lurking that deserve a cautious over-the-shoulder check. No matter the threat or the consequences, the two persevere through everything that tries to hold them back or even break them apart, because the two have one another, each making up for the deficiencies that the other may have, proving just how important family is. Even though the apple couldn't be any more different than the tree, they're still father and daughter. If you keep up to date with anime releases and remember from my What Will I Be Watching in the Fall video, if you haven't seen that, shame on you, then you'd be able to guess what anime will be capping off this video. The wonderful Shiroi Suna no Aqua Topu. Let me start off by saying Shiroi Suna no Aqua Topu is one of my favorite anime releases in 2021. The story it tells, the characters it introduces, aquariums, and just about everything else is wonderfully done. Truly a remarkable piece of fiction that captures the growth of two ladies that we fell in love with right from the beginning. Misakino Kukuru, introduced as the de facto director of Gama Gama, and Miyazawa Fuka, introduced as an ex-idol runaway. When we first began, the two girls were lost and in search of direction. Both of their initial plights are resolved towards the end of the summer season, and we resume in the fall once the girls have returned to school and graduated, both ready to take on the world as the young woman that they've become after fighting for Gama Gama. As a result, they both realize that there's still much to learn, moving on from the life that they had lived, and carrying on their experiences which have encouraged and even inspired them to find their own meaningful path in life. The second half of the first season focuses a bit more on Kukuru than it does Fuka, as the two are now separated and can't spend nearly as much time as they used to while working so closely together at Gama Gama, and even living together for the short period of time that they did. Eventually, Fuka had to return home, and as life would dictate, people naturally grow apart, focusing more on their own life and their future, their hopes and dreams and relationships, all those slowly fading in the rear view mirror. It's a good thing that Shiroi Suna no Aqua Topu is an anime, because Fuka then decides to return to Kukuru. I mean, decides to move in next door to Kukuru. Their time spent together inspiring Fuka to continue down a path that's geared towards aquatic life, its maintenance, and most importantly, its preservation. Both looking to expand on their experiences from their past life at Gama Gama, and taking it upon themselves to develop a more holistic understanding of aquatic life and what it takes to manage a successful aquatope at the world-class Tingara, tiptoeing the fine line of meeting customers' expectations in a manner that's sustainable to the livelihood of aquatic life, all while leaving the metaphorical shore behind them and treading what may be rocky waters ahead, all with friends both old and new. Gama Gama to Tingara is what a ma-and-pa store would be to a department store, Gama Gama being more relaxed and family-esque, while Tingara is more bustling and grand. Size, departments, capabilities, aquatic life, you name it. The penguins are my favorite, by the way. The differences are best exemplified through Kukuru's journey, a typical big fish in a small pond to becoming a little fish in a big pond type of story, as she attempts to get acclimated to the bureaucracy and more structured environment of Tingara, where she is more of a cog singularly focused than a lead responsible for many facets of the business. Her new role demonstrating how every minute action is integral to the overall synergistic success of an aquatope. Ooh, look at me putting my university degrees to work in an anime video. Ooh. The second half of the first season is much more grand in every way imaginable. New species of aquatic life and both new co-workers and old friends play a larger role in the narrative that is Kukuru and Fuka's development, since there's nothing that the two keep from each other, and they're always there to provide whatever it may be to the other, whether it be a helping hand or a listening ear. The wall that separates their apartments might as well not be there. Let me reiterate. The bond that they share is so much more than a measly wall can separate. Wherever life may take them on their own personal journey, they'll always have each other's backs, and Shiroi Suna no Aqua Topu has always been a meaningful journey of two young women, the bond that they share, and not being afraid to swim in the blue ocean. I hope I didn't spoil anything and encourage you to check out Shiroi Suna no Aqua Topu for yourself if anything I said piques your interest. I highly recommend it. Anyway, before I keep rambling on and spoil everything for you, 今日はこの辺です。ありがとうございます。ずっと元気でいてね。じゃあまたね。
疲